The eagle, the turkey, has landed, and it is time for another episode of A Little Off the Top with your hosts,
Hannah
and Noah. Thank you so much for listening to this episode, for joining us on week 2 of our Thanksgiving travaganza. I was trying to do some kind of alliteration there. Thanksgiving tradition. The astounding silence I'm getting from you is, back me up here. Say something.
I was just waiting to see where you were going.
Thanksgiving trivia. No trivia on this episode. I mean, there may be some trivia on the episode. I don't know what we've got in store because it is the long-awaited return of a very beloved segment by folks. But
Sure. Very beloved. I enjoy doing it. I don't care if anyone else does.
people love it. People enjoy it. But I'm sitting here sipping my tea, and I'm going to get ready to hear some tea in just a few minutes. But first, how's it going, Hannah? It's been so long since we recorded, hasn't it?
Oh, so long.
It
feels like it was just yesterday.
It was, because we recorded this week's episode that you've heard if you listen in weekly. If you haven't, let me take you aside for a second. What are you doing? Okay, this is me and you right now, listeners who don't listen weekly, who don't share it with their friends and rate us 5 stars. To all the listeners that don't listen yet, listen up. Oh, wait, if you're not I'm losing steam here. All right, listen up. We love this podcast and we love doing it, and we need to keep it going. And to keep it going, we gotta get people listening. We gotta get this is a call to you folks, okay? The listeners, the little off the toppers, you're sitting in the barber's chair right now because this is a little off the top, and this is a call to you. Share it with your friends. Don't be embarrassed. Okay, we're weirdos, all right, but we have a good time, and we're positive, and a lot of people think that the world's not very positive right now, and there are a lot of things that are not positive about it, and I'm spiraling out here, and Hannah is not offering any support. She's actually staring at her phone right now, but
I mean, you're the one who took them aside. So I was just letting you do your thing aside.
You're right. But then I let go of my hands. The whole, I'm talking to you right now.
So, you want to talk about some offbeat Thanksgiving traditions that Reddit has?
Well, yeah, we will get there. We haven't even done the intro song yet. But how was your day? We gotta have small talk to start the podcast. That's how the podcast starts.
It was good. It was a day with the pain clinic, so I was in for a lot of back and neck injections, running the C-arm.
What does that entail? What happens with the C-arm in an injection?
So the C-arm is a mobile unit that does X-rays and fluoroscopy, which is a live video feed of X-rays. And they have on my order what level they're injecting into. So like if it's lumbar level 5, sacrum 1, or wherever. And I know where on the human body that is. And so we come and we center over that area and we take a picture so that the doctor knows where he's at. He lines up the needle with it and we take pictures, and it helps him get into the joint spaces that he needs to and stuff.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Interesting. I really didn't know that. So.
Yep. And then he can also inject contrast, and you do like a live fluoro stream of that. So he's double checking that he's sending the medication where it needs to go.
Gotcha.
No point in injecting it in the wrong place and then not getting any relief from it.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Well, all right. Now we've small talked. Today I cooked some crab tomato bisque. That turned out pretty good.
It's tasty.
Got it packaged up for your lunches for the rest of the week because it's a chilly week where we are in the Midwest. Why don't we just get to the meat of this episode?
Let's do it.
Okay. And it's time for Hannah's Reading Redditbow with your host, Hannah.
All right. So I have done a deep dive into Reddit. And by deep dive, I mean that I've looked at this for probably 10, 15 minutes. About what the most offbeat Thanksgiving traditions are. And ironically enough, this original question was posted 364 days ago. So the original poster, or the OP, says, our Thanksgiving celebration is very traditional, but we do one thing that might be considered weird. For the past 23 years, we watch The Shining on Thanksgiving after the guests go home. It's become a family tradition, and we love it. How about you? What unusual family Thanksgiving traditions have you done? You've not seen The Shining, so we technically could start that tradition this year.
I don't want that tradition. I'll watch The Shining. I've told you multiple times that I do want to watch The Shining. We have a list of a lot of movies that we're working through currently, but I'll watch that for sure. I don't want it to be a tradition at Thanksgiving we watch The Shining. Also, I don't know where I was going with that, but no, I don't want to start that tradition.
Dang.
You know what tradition we could start as a unit, a family? Family, I think is the word I'm looking for. Papa, my family. But one thing we could do, because tomorrow I will be getting my coffee roaster in, is I roast a new coffee and we try it, on Thanksgiving type of thing. Like,
That'd be cute.
Yeah, like a new, I'll get a new type of coffee, one that I haven't roasted before type of thing.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So the top comment, or the first comment, I don't know if it's top or whatever, says, we've been listening to Alice's Restaurant every Thanksgiving for at least 40 to 45 years. They used to play it on the radio on our drive back from hubby's parents' house, and we've listened to it every Thanksgiving evening. I thought it was just our quirky tradition until our oldest son married and continued listening. Eventually, all three of our sons continued this goofy tradition. This will be my first Thanksgiving without hubby singing the chorus. But I believe the best thing about a tradition is how it brings close those who are no longer with us.
Alice's song. Alice's Restaurant.
Yeah.
This song
you
is...
can have anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. Have you never heard that song before?
No, I have not. Alice's Restaurant Massacre? Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's also a movie.
It's by Arlo Guthrie.
I think so.
I've not. It's 18 and a half minutes long.
Oh, yeah. It's a long one. And you would not believe how many people have commented under that comment and said, oh, we also do this. I mean, it's like 15 people.
It's 18 and a half minutes long. I'm still...
Yeah, it's fun.
I'll have to check this out at another time.
I know it because of my intro to film class.
Okay. See, for the people, that short pause right there was I played it in our headphones. I didn't play it to the podcast itself. I could add it in, but I'm not going to. We're not going to give you an 18 and a half minute song on here, but
no, that's a little lazy.
Yeah. We're just padding it. We're just padding stuff. Anyway.
This commenter says, before the guests arrive, all my kitchen minions and I usually take a shot. And that's Fireball, but it's drinker's choice.
Ooh.
And the top comment under that says, mother of pearl, I may need to put this into practice. Adds liquor and wine to grocery list. I sip on whiskey the whole time I'm cooking, and then I make drinks after I eat while everyone else cleans up and drunk shop the online sales.
Goodness gracious.
That's I mean,
there are definitely some people who get
as someone who works in healthcare and has worked a lot of Thanksgiving, there are a lot of people who get quite toasty on Thanksgiving.
And you're on call for Thanksgiving
I sure
this year,
am.
so hopefully nobody gets too toasty. Hey, here's a public service announcement. Remember that you need to eat when you do partake of alcohol. Don't over partake of alcohol, but if you do, also drink water because
don't do it on an empty stomach.
Yeah,
and make sure you drink water.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't get dehydrated.
And don't drive home after either.
Nope.
All right. Anyway.
This was kind of cute. We put heavy whipping cream in a mason jar, and everyone who comes to Thanksgiving has to help shake it into butter for the meal. After we eat, we go on a walk with flashlights and lanterns and make bets on how many people will have their Christmas lights on and count them on our walk. When we get back, we eat pie and watch Home Alone. We play Pooey. I doubt this is a real game, likely invented generations ago to keep the little ones occupied. Goal of the game is to get to the top of the stairs. Kids sit on the stairs. An adult or older cousin hides a coin in each one of their hands, goes to each player and asks them to guess which hand it's in. If they get it wrong, they shout "Pooey," and then they have to go down a step. Get it right, then up a step. The more dramatic, the better. Kid who gets to the top first wins and gets the coin. It's stupid, but everyone loves it.
I tried to search Pooey, and I tried Pooey game as well, and I got apparently there is Poop Games Toilet Simulator, Toilet Time Fun Mini Games, Poopy Sprint, and Poopty. So I do think it is a fake.
Well, someone commented underneath it and said, my family played this game too, except it was called Button Button. Before the kid gets to guess, the older cousin said, "Button Button, where's the button?" And so on and so forth.
I also, to give a little teaser towards the end of this episode, we'll keep doing the Reddit stories, but I've found some... I've found a short story called The Night Before Thanksgiving, and I will do a nice reading of that story towards the end of this episode.
Okay.
So, anyway.
This person serves pie during the appetizer so people can enjoy it without eating it and feeling too full. But there's also pie afterwards during dinner, too. This person does a whole buffet of cheese, crackers, salami, olives, etc. to keep the kids busy and fed because we all know they won't eat dinner when it's ready. But she also has dessert ready when her guests walk through the door. I work hard on those pies and I want people to enjoy them, not force them down later because they feel obligated to. That's actually kind of smart. This one, I think, will resonate with you, and
okay.
It might be one that you decide to try in the future. It's called The Tasting of the Hot Sauces.
Oh, yeah.
My brother grows his own peppers and makes bottles his own sauces. By Thanksgiving, they've aged enough so whoever wants to participate will down spoonfuls of them or eat them on crackers. Everyone gets some to take home. They are hot, and it takes us about a year to use the entire bottle.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I that is something that I have a dream of. We talked about this, but when one day we would love to have like a cafe, a coffee shop type of situation, and I would love to like the things that we'll probably start out with like a mobile coffee cart type of thing. But the things I would love to sell alongside of coffee, outside of like us cooking stuff, is I'd love to make my own like hot sauce, my own spice mixes, and there was something else I said, and I can't remember what it is. Hot sauce and spice mixes are definitely up there, but and then also like one thing I would love is to have like a 3D printer where I can print little things like the Triceratops I got you and stuff like that, because
like little fidget toys.
Yeah, little fidget toys and little what do they call them?
I know the dice towers and stuff.
Yeah, dice towers, stuff like that, because I think people would like that too, and it's just easy to display,
Yeah.
Like, if nothing else, it looks cool displayed. But anyway, that's... Our dog just gave out a very big...
It's so dramatic.
No attention being put towards her right now, so
Yep.
she's being dramatic.
So the night before Thanksgiving, the kids and I watch Charlie Brown's Thanksgiving and have Snoopy's Feast for our dinner. Pretzels, popcorn, jelly beans, and toast. I'm usually already working on sides and desserts, so it's super easy dinner for me. My oldest is 19, and I think he would cry if we skipped this one.
Oh,
That's really sweet.
that is really sweet.
I know we used to watch the Charlie Brown Thanksgiving
I
very
do-
frequently.
I do like that a lot.
I do not know these movies. This person says we watch Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Oh, I know that one.
Followed by March of the Wooden Soldiers.
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is John Candy and Steve Martin, I believe. And it's and like Steve Martin's trying to get home. John Candy is very much annoying to Steve Martin the whole movie, and like they just happen to be traveling basically the same way a lot of ways, and so they just keep running into each other, and it's very good. 92% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Nice.
Actually, it's a very good movie. What was the other one? March of the Wood. Well, that popped up very quickly. It's a 1934 film starring Oliver Hardy and Stan
Stanley
Laurel.
and Stan Laurel and Oliver Hardy.
Yep, Laurel and Hardy.
Thought that sounded familiar.
Yep.
I have watched that.
It has a 100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
That was scratching the back of my brain. I
Yeah.
was like, I feel like I should know this.
There you go.
My spouse's family implemented what they call 5 Pies Friday. For the day after Thanksgiving, it came from having an overload of pies on Thanksgiving, so they spent the next day just eating pies and watching movies. About 6 to 7 years after this was invented, my spouse threw a 5 Pies Friday party for his friends, of which I was one. I brought my quadberry pie, and the night ended with us full of pie, and I'm pretty sure we were into each other. Been together since, married 9 years this September. I love 5 Pies Friday. That's cute.
It is cute.
We put on The Last Waltz or listen to the recording. It's a 1976 Martin Scorsese film on the final performance of the band on Thanksgiving. It's an absolute beautiful time capsule of some of the best musicians. Highly, highly recommend.
That's cool.
Oh, there's a lot of people commenting on that they also did that. Wow.
Did the
Last
Scorsese?
Waltz. Yeah.
Yeah.
We watch Elf. My partner and I started this tradition 20 years ago when his mom assumed that we had to be with... Okay, this is written poorly, sorry.
Yeah.
Assumed that we had to be with my family in the early afternoon. We didn't, but we didn't correct her assumption. We used that time to sneak off to the movies to see Elf. This time of year, the family has matching Elf PJs, even the pup, to commemorate the 20 years of Elf goodness.
Wow. Elf came out over 20 years. Came out 20 years ago.
Well, apparently it was 20 years ago last year, so 21 years to this year.
Elf release date 2003. Oof, that makes me feel old, Hannah. November 7th, 2003 is whenever Elf came out.
I am not a
Santa.
Will Ferrell fan,
But you do.
but I love that movie.
Yeah, you like that one.
I do love that movie.
Yeah, he's got some good ones.
Um,
Very few, but he's got some good ones.
that and what was her name? Zoe
Deschanel.
Yeah.
She's good.
She's in it.
She's great.
I love it when they are singing together. Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right. I cook a regular Thanksgiving menu, but my husband always makes a meatloaf and a Basque cheesecake. Basque. He always eats a slice of the cheesecake the night before Thanksgiving, so amongst the pretty display of perfect cookies and pies, there's also a cheesecake with the burnt top and a missing slice.
San Sebastian cheesecake, also known as burnt Basque cheesecake, is a cheesecake that is so much more lighter and creamier than the ones we're used to eating. And the top of it is like a burnt sugar type of situation. So it looks yummy.
This one's kind of funny. My father-in-law was a doctor. Between Thanksgiving dinner and dessert, he always brought out a handful of syringes and inoculated the entire family against the flu.
All right, family, it's time now.
It's time to get stuck.
It's time to get stuck.
We don't do anything unusual, but I did have a new idea for this year, and I know that people are going to love this. I'm going to get out any old Thanksgiving photos from past years and ask everyone, we're having 7 people, to dig out their old Thanksgiving photos to share. I'm sure there's a lot none of us have ever seen, and it's a great way to remember those who are no longer with us. That's sweet.
That is sweet. That's very sweet.
For the last 20 years, we've done an eating contest with the cats. We buy a Thanksgiving-related wet food and put the food down at the same time for the cats. We've always had at least 2. Everyone picks a cat to root for. The kids love it, and this way we get to include the pets in the festivities.
That's cute.
Oh, I feel like this is pretty common. When the kids were younger, we used to have a pickup football game in the yard, and we stopped when we had a guest, and her high heels got her shoe stuck in the yard and almost broke her ankle.
Oh, no.
Yep. Pumpkin pie for breakfast in bed while I watch the parade. Then I'm glad to see that my Tom Thumb / Randall's pre-made turkey dinner is fully thawed. Just as my guests arrive, I'm pulling it out of the oven. Oh, look, it came out perfect again this year. I fool them all every single time.
Well, we do have Thanksgiving to thank for TV denters, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna get me a TV denter from Swanson. Just a recall to a funny joke. My
mom has the Godfather trilogy on, which caused, among other behaviors of hers, my ex to call my mom the Dawn, which my now husband also used to refer to my mom as. It's not a forced family holiday unless there's a horse head in the bed.
Oh my gosh.
I've never seen those movies.
Yeah, I know. You need to watch the first 2. You don't need to watch the third one. But the first 2 are very good. That's hilarious, though. The Dawn.
My friends do T. Hanks Giving and watch Tom Hanks movies. There's plenty to choose from.
Oh, come on now. It's time for Thanksgiving.
Oh, come on, Buzz.
Ah, jeez, Buzz. Come on. That's my Tom Hanks. That's as good as it gets. Come on, Buzz. We got to do Thanksgiving now.
We watch The Wizard of Oz all day since it's normally on all day.
Goodness gracious.
And for Christmas, we watch A Christmas Story.
Oh.
We've been doing that since I was a child, and I still do this with my children.
All right, let me get on my soapbox for a second here. TBS every year plays a Christmas Story for 24 straight hours on Christmas Eve, or they did for a very long time, right?
Yeah.
So also, you know how TVs over the years have had less and less buttons put on them?
Mm-hmm.
So when I was in college, I worked the front desk of a dorm building, which meant that I was up until 4 a.m. if I worked the full 8 to 4 type of thing, and I was working over the holiday break, and I worked Christmas Eve, and that dang movie was on, and somebody was watching it around 8 o'clock, right? Except they left. And I could not find the remote for the TV in the lobby of the dorm building, which meant that my entire night, that stinking movie, oh fudge, was just on the TV all night, Hannah. I watched A Christmas Story however many times it repeats in 8 hours because it just kept playing over and over on TBS, and it drove me crazy.
That sounds awful.
I don't like that movie anymore because of that.
That sounds awful. Not me, but I once knew a Vietnam veteran who every Thanksgiving would put on his old jungle jacket and sit out in his backyard. He never seemed bitter. It was more like he was remembering the good times and he was thankful that he was home. That's sweet.
That is sweet.
We watch Twilight Zone and eat lasagna. I love the Twilight Zone.
The old Twilight Zone show is very well done.
That show used to freak me out every now and then, but I loved that show so much.
Did you know that they rebooted it?
Yes.
With Jordan Peele as the host of it. Mm-hmm. I haven't watched any of it. I haven't either. I've heard people say good things about it. Jordan Peele does well with horror. So you just made a face. Can you read what you just made a face about on the podcast?
For us, our go-to family holiday movie is Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, good Lord. What is wrong with these people? The Shining and Silence of the Lambs. What
is the quote? It's like, I ate him with the...
Oh, with a nice Chianti, a side of fava beans. I ate his thigh with a nice Chianti and a side of fava beans.
Yep.
Which, if anybody wants to watch... quote unquote how that's cooked, Babish did a video early on, Binging with Babish, or now it's called the Babish Culinary Universe, and what he does is he cooks dishes from TV shows and movies, and he quote unquote recreated the thigh with a nice Chianti and a side of fava beans. It was he looked up what
it's pork.
Yeah, I think it was a pork roast, but he cooked it like the way that it kind of shows in the movie, or maybe there's a book and it says it in the book.
He has a recipe book.
Yeah, and something like that. Anyway, he talks about it in the video. And
that's funny.
It is funny. It's a good video.
This is, I feel like, pretty common. Maybe not so much for Thanksgiving, but more for Christmas. Chinese food the night before Thanksgiving. Then we go to the bar and run into old friends that moved away and come back for the holidays. Then on Thanksgiving, we do some non-traditional food because we get burned out traditional Thanksgiving fare. Yeah, traditional Thanksgiving meal, I like it for one good meal.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, let's do something else.
I'll say the leftovers do pretty well whenever you like make sandwiches and stuff like that. But
you're not sitting down and doing the full meal again.
Now, I did see a video where somebody took stuffing and put it in a waffle maker. Mm-hmm. Oh, it looks so good.
Yeah, you sent me that, and it did look good.
So
and
good.
I don't even really like stuffing.
You like my stuffing.
I do like your stuffing.
Also, the Peking duck on Christmas, or Chinese food on Christmas, that comes from, it's a pretty common thing because they're the open restaurant, but it also was done in the movie A Christmas Story.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I learned that well.
After dinner, we do a white elephant gift exchange. It's been the highlight of every Thanksgiving since we started the tradition about 10 years ago. That sounds fun.
That is fun.
I love white elephant games.
Me too.
We all take a shot of Wild Turkey 101.
Oh, Lord.
Ooh, before the guests arrive, and we watch Nightmare Before Christmas and eat turkey sandwiches.
I guess you're right in the middle of both holidays for that movie, so I guess that works. Because that movie is a Halla Christmas movie.
Yep, it is. Sometimes during the day or after we watch Trains, Planes, and Automobiles. That's another person saying that.
And that is the movie takes place. He's trying to get home for the holidays, I think. I don't remember the exact premise, but I think he's trying to get home for the holidays. Which they basically just stole the plot of that movie for multiple other movies. For instance, what's that movie, Due Date? Mm-hmm. Where he's trying to get home for his wife's the birth of his child, and he has a very annoying, isn't it, Zach Galifianakis
and Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah. And then there's the other one that has
that was my first Zach Galifianakis movie.
Oh, was it really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had to watch one after I served him through the drive-thru at Chick-fil-A.
He's been in a lot of bad ones. He's a weirdo. Anyway, and then that movie with what's her name? She's short. She's always in comedy movies. She lost a bunch of weight, but she's
Rebel?
No, not Rebel.
Well, I guess Rebel's not short.
Rebel's predecessor, basically. Melissa
McCarthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was in a movie basically where she was like traveling, because that scene of the radio thing.
Oh, with not Jason.
Jason Bateman? Was it with him?
Yeah, I think so.
Anyway, it's kind of the annoying person
That's
with
a
the
good
other
movie.
person.
Identity theft.
Yeah, I guess okay, so she's a thief. That's right. But it's still the whole like annoying person traveling with the
I
like
liked
straight
that movie.
person. You know what?
Yeah.
By straight person, I mean like the non-funny person.
Yeah.
You know. Anyway.
The straight man in the comedy act.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I am in this podcast.
Not even close. My husband and I are those people, and we run and or volunteer at the local turkey trot.
Okay.
Then we go to the Divest bar with all of our runner friends and have a couple of beers before heading out to family dinners.
Have you ever heard of, talking about 5Ks, let me find it real quick. There's one in Raleigh, North Carolina, the Krispy Kreme Challenge, and it is done in Raleigh. It is an annual charity event, and what they do is they run a 2.5 mile course.
Oh, with the donuts?
No, hold on. They run a 2.5 mile course that takes them to the Krispy Kreme, to a Krispy Kreme. They eat a dozen original glazed donuts, and then they run the 2.5 miles back. And it's all in under 1 hour.
Nope.
Doesn't that sound awful?
The vomit, I would vomit
it sounds
everywhere.
so terrible. I mean,
I would go into a sugar coma.
yeah. It doesn't have to be in under 1 hour, I'm sure, but like, still, it's just cool.
I know, it sounds awful. These people make their own pizza. It's easier now to just order, but when I was a kid, we wound up making pizzas for Thanksgiving as a change and loved it. All weekend long, all the football games had to watch live, no way to record. All the decorating for Christmas while we were off from school. Pizza anytime we wanted. We loved it.
Sounds fun.
Yeah.
I like making pizza fresh, like
Yeah,
from
I do
scratch.
too. I do the cooking while everyone else decorates the Christmas tree and watches the Flintstones Christmas Carol. I don't know if I've ever seen that.
That's an animated one, I believe.
Well, yeah.
I wonder, let's see. Flintstones Christmas. A Flintstones Christmas. Oh, a Flintstones Christmas Carol. 1994 is when it came out.
Same year that you were born.
It was the year I was born. It has a 6.8 out of 10 on IMDb, but
I mean, it's the Flintstones. It's a cartoon.
It looks like Fred is supposed to be like Ebenezer Scrooge in it type of thing. And
he could be a Scrooge.
Did you ever watch the live action with John Goodman playing?
Yeah.
Oh, the face you just made about that.
It wasn't my
you
favorite.
Also don't like the live action Scooby-Doo, which I think is incredible.
That's okay. You can have bad taste.
You just said you like the movie Identity Theft with Melissa McCarthy. I think that's her name. I'm going to look up her name real quick.
So this person makes bingo cards for the family with light roasts
Melissa McCarthy.
of everybody. Certain person has grease stains on shirt. Another one gets tipsy and talks too loudly. Dad joke, evasive answer queen, etc. It makes everyone laugh, and there's a small prize for a first bingo and a big prize for a blackout. That could be fun, but that could also be petty. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And sometimes family.
Oh, yeah.
With all of the drama.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it is Jason Bateman in that film, by the way, Identity Theft. Melissa McCarthy, Jason Bateman, 2013, 20% on Rotten Tomatoes.
These people bet on the dog show.
Oh my gosh. The yearly dog show that's held on Thanksgiving.
Uh-huh.
Did your family do the Macy's Day Parade?
No.
They never watched the parade?
We didn't have a way of watching that. We didn't do live TV.
That's on antenna, so I was just curious. Okay.
Nope. We had a TV and a DVD player. That was it.
Gotcha. I was just curious.
Yeah. Growing up, we hung the wishbone from turkey on the latch of the kitchen window above the sink. It stayed there all year long. Each year you snap the last year's wishbone. It's hard to snap a fresh bone, so it worked out better when it dried out from the prior year. It's definitely a strange thing to do. I don't think that's too weird.
Hanging it for the whole year is interesting, but...
I mean, it's not like it's going to stink or anything.
As long as you get all the meat off of it, no.
Yeah.
Weirdly enough, the Flintstones live action with John Goodman also came out in 1994. It has a 23 on Rotten Tomatoes. So, also not great. I'm just giving little weird interjections in between your stories here.
We haven't done it many times, but I hope to make it more regular. Husband and I rent a mini cabin at a state park and make our Thanksgiving dinner on a campfire. Ooh. It's a nice time to go camping, just starting to get cold but not frigid yet. Yeah, not here. And a few other campers around. I like to take the focus off of preparing a perfect Thanksgiving meal. The challenge of campfire cooking turkey and its sides is fun, and everything tastes better at camp. Last time it snowed, so we had a great time hiking in the winter wonderland. The downside is that our family won't join us, but maybe that's part of the fun too. I wouldn't want to do it on Thanksgiving, but I wouldn't mind to do it around Thanksgiving.
Yeah, like during the week of Thanksgiving. Yeah, for sure.
These people watch 80s fantasy movies, Legend, Labyrinth, The Dark Crystal, and Willow on Thanksgiving. Have you ever seen Willow?
Nope, I haven't seen any of those actually.
I've seen Willow. I don't think I've seen any of the others.
Labyrinth has David Bowie, right?
Yeah, it does.
And I think Dark Crystal.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I know a lot of people would get upset about not having watched Labyrinth.
Yeah, I just got smacked in the face by the tea bag in my mug of tea. Don't make the joke. Don't take the low-hanging fruit. That was the worst phrase to say right there.
You're just egging it on.
Goodness gracious. All right, let's move on.
Back when my grandmother lived in a house with a screened-in front porch, every year at dessert time, someone would be sent out to the porch to retrieve a chocolate pie, which didn't actually exist. At least not until the year I was working at a convenience store. I had to work, so I arrived at Grandma's later than anyone else. I bought a chocolate pie from work and placed it where it would be easily seen. Came time to get the pie. We all know there's really no pie until somebody actually went just to prove no pie and found it. After that, one never knew whether or not there would be a chocolate pie. That's cute.
That is cute. This is a complete editing note here, but just to let you know, whenever this is out for people, there's going to be really nice, like, royalty-free jazz playing underneath real quietly and stuff with, like, nice ambiance for people and stuff. So
we're going to take a little bit of a change in our trajectory. This one was written 3 days before the group of, I don't know what it's called.
The original post that you were reading.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, it's called Funniest Thanksgiving Saying Stories and Jokes. It's like funny Thanksgiving memories.
Okay.
And stories that people have.
This sounds good. Hopefully people have listened in for this long because this will be good stuff, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Is this all from r/Thanksgiving? Is that a thing on?
Yes.
Okay. Reddit has subreddits of everything.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, they really do. Anyway, take it away.
So, one Thanksgiving, we were all sitting around after dinner, and my mom, asking for help packing leftovers, says, "Who'd like to make some TV dinners?" Me, being a total smart butt, replied, "No thanks, I couldn't eat another bite." Cracked everyone up, so for years that was a reoccurring joke. Another time we decided to have a roll eating contest.
Oh, Lord.
We ate so many that we ran out. The following year, my cousin showed up with 10 packages, determined to win. Just as she was coming in the door with the bags, was enough. Just her coming in with the bags was enough to crack everyone up. But boy, oh boy, we never did that again. Ever so often afterwards, someone would joke, let's have a roll eating contest. And then we'd all groan. We get that turkey-shaped butter every year. And one year, my youngest referred to it as his new pet for some reason. At the end of the meal, we were clearing the table. My stepdad's eyes got huge and he started pointing and stammering, the pet, because our dog, our actual pet, had just casually walked past the table and ate the entire dang butter in one bite before anyone still at the table could stop him. He was fine. So now everyone always asks if I have acquired the pet sacrifice.
The pet sacrifice. Goodness gracious.
Every year, my kids threaten to disown their grandmother if she doesn't show up with a butter turkey. She could bring all of their favorites, but she better have that butter turkey. Then an argument over who was going to eat the butt. I don't know what they're talking about. What is this butter turkey?
Butter turkey. The turkey-shaped butter.
Yeah, but where I've never seen that. Where are people getting that from?
I see it right here. I've never seen it before, but it is butter in the shape of a turkey. That's what it is. I can't really show you the picture very well right now, but that's what it is.
There were several diabetics in our family, and my aunt brought a sugar-free apple pie.
Ooh.
She must have told everyone at least 10 times that the apple pie did not have any sugar in it. It became a running joke to both tell everyone over and over and over again that a specific food did not have sugar in it, or to randomly ask loudly if a specific food item has sugar in it. That does not sound too funny as I typed it all out, but I assure you it was funny at the time.
Sounds funny to me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try that soon. Actually, I bought the stuff to make a sugar-free pecan pie for us. So we'll see how it goes.
Yep,
and I'll remind you, hey, the pecan pie, it doesn't have sugar in it.
Nice. Mom is notorious for burning the rolls. Everything else will be perfect, but she always puts the rolls in last. Man, this is making me want rolls. Between the 2 stories I've read now, I'm just like...
You just like bread.
I love bread.
You love bread.
Every year, I get that from my mom. Every year we forget until the telltale smell of what's burning. For years, we tried to convince her to put them in with something else so she would remember them. Nope, they must go in last and all alone by themselves. So our standard greeting on the holiday is to walk in the door and say, "What's burning?" The response is always, "Just the rolls." Or we joke, and it isn't really a holiday unless the rolls are scorched.
At least she's a good sport about it.
Yeah. My mother-in-law calls the fire alarm our dinner bell.
Hey, sometimes you be cooking and stuff just gets smoky. Not burnt, but it just produces some smoke, and then all of a sudden the fire alarm goes off. And the fire alarm sets the whole building off, and then everybody's...
Yeah, it's so much fun.
It's annoying.
I proposed to my wife on Thanksgiving Day. Whole family was there. I was a wreck before and didn't eat anything. I proposed towards the end of the meal, and then she couldn't eat anything due to the excitement. This holiday is beloved by our entire family.
That's cute. That's very cute. You got a few more funny ones for us?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, this one's kind of... It's...
Uh-oh.
What?
You knocked over her water bowl from throwing the...
Oops.
But I think it was empty, but...
Good. This one's, I guess, a little more wholesome than funny, but my mom always had to do all of the cooking, and she was known for her pumpkin chiffon pie. What makes it a chiffon pie? Just that it has chiffon in it? Or what?
Yeah.
I don't know what chiffon is, but it's fun to say. It sounds like a fabric. Chiffon.
Chiffon pie. Chiffon is a type of crust. A type of pie that has a special type of airy filling in a crust. Sorry. The filling is usually produced by folding meringue into a mixture resembling fruit curd. So chiffon is like the filling. So the pumpkin chiffon is like this really light, airy pumpkin meringue type of thing. It sounds good.
Yeah. One year, it just wasn't setting properly, so before dinner, she popped it in the freezer for a few minutes and forgot about it. Dessert time came and search for the pie ended at the freezer. And from then on, we always teased her about whether or not she would make her famous pumpkin popsicle this year. Rest in peace, Mom. I miss you.
Oh.
My husband and I were responsible for the turkey one year. We saw a Cornish game hen near the turkeys, and we got and cooked both. We had 2 large roasting pans. On Turkey Day, we brought in both pans. We apologized profusely to his mother. We explained that something must have happened in the oven and the bird had shrunk. She was stunned at first and said she'd never seen that before, but it would be okay. We have plenty of sides. We whipped open the other pan and revealed the 23-pound bird. Mom was so pissed that she fell for it.
I feel like we could get your mom on that if we did that. I feel like she would.
That would be so fun.
And normally with her, she goes for those honey baked ham turkeys because they're easy for and they're really good. So she'd be like, "I've been doing these turkeys for years. What happened?"
That would be so funny. Oh my goodness.
That would be funny.
The year my grandmother farted at the table. My brother was around 17-ish and I was 22-ish. Too old to laugh at fart jokes, but my grandmother did not hear well, and she thought that whenever she farted, since she couldn't hear it, no one could. It was dead quiet at the table, and we all started eating, and she let out the loudest one I had ever heard. Everyone stopped and looked at her, but she just kept plugging along with her meal like nothing happened. Bro, I couldn't handle it. I broke down first and then he did. And we had to leave the table to go into the living room. We could not get the laughs, so we could get the laughs out of our system.
That's so funny.
The best is when they can't hear it and then they smell it and are like, who tooted?
Who tooted? That's so funny. Oh, that's great.
We were hosting dinner for my sister-in-law. Her husband and his parents came as well. I knew his mother and dad pretty well, and his mom was a bit eccentric. Lots of wine was had, and his mom was doing the dishes at the end of the night, even when I tried to tell her that she didn't have to. There were really only plates, and we only used them for the holidays. At night's end, a month goes by, and I go to get said plates for Christmas, and most of my Thanksgiving was still on the plates in my hutch full of mold. I was so confused and took a moment to even realize what and how had happened. She's passed now, but I still laugh with my sister-in-law about it. So I guess she told her she didn't have to do it, and they just put the dishes up dirty.
Oh,
like,
oh no.
Ew. She put them away, stacked on top of one another full of food. I didn't think to check, as I had said, wine had been had.
Oh my gosh.
That's so nasty.
That's rough.
One year when we were kids, one of my cousins, I think she was about 10 at the time, was at the table with a plate full of food. But instead of eating anything off of her plate, she just reached out into the shared butter dish, scooped some butter onto her finger, and then dipped said butterfinger into a bowl of sugar.
Oh my
that
gosh.
Her mom had inexplicitly left out, and then stuck the whole sugar butter mess into her mouth. We all watched horrified, but unable to turn away while she did it at least 2 more times.
No.
None of the adults stopped her.
No.
To this day, my siblings and I will joke, "You want some sugar with that butter?"
You want some
at
sugar?
Thanksgiving when anyone asked to pass the butter.
Oh, that's funny. That's good. You got one more real good one, and then I'll read this short story.
Yeah.
To wrap us up, I believe.
Yeah. So, we have a saying in my family, save the neck for pie. It means you eat until you are full up into your clavicle, but you save the neck area for pie. For years, my husband would go into the kitchen and look at all the desserts and choose a piece of something. Until one year, my mom said, save the neck for pie. And my husband says, what the heck is a turkey neck pie? I look every year and I cannot find it. We all busted out laughing. I've always been tempted to make a turkey neck pie for him. Maybe next year. And then the comment under that says, oh my God, you have to do it. Just nonchalantly say, will you go for it? Nonchalantly just say, will you go for it this year? As if this golden Thanksgiving, he finally can see the turkey neck pie. That's funny.
That is funny. All right. So I have a short story here. It's called The Night Before Thanksgiving, and it's by Sarah Orne Jewett. It was published in 1905 and is now in the public domain. So, all right. There was a sad heart in the low-storied, dark little house that stood humbly by the roadside under some tall elms. Small as her house was, old Mrs. Robb found it too large for herself alone. She only needed the kitchen and a tiny bedroom that led out of it, and there still remained the best room and a bedroom with the low garret overhead. There had been a time after she was left alone when Mrs. Robb could help those who were poorer than herself. She was strong enough not only to do a woman's work inside her house, but also a man's work outside in her piece of garden ground. At last, sickness and age had come hand in hand, those two relentless enemies of the poor, and together they had wasted her strength and substance. She had always been looked up to by her neighbors as being independent, but now she was left lame-footed and lame-handed with a debt to carry and her bare land, and the house ill-provisioned to stand the siege of time. For a while she managed to get on, but at last it began to be whispered about that there was no use for anyone so proud. It was easier for the whole town to care for her than for a few neighbors, and Mrs. Robb had better go to the poorhouse before winter and be done with it. At this terrible suggestion, her brave heart seemed to stand still. The people whom she cared for most happened to be poor, and she could no longer go into their households to make use of herself. The very elms overhead seemed to say, "Oh no," as they groaned in the late autumn winds, and there was something appealing even to the strange passerby in the look of the little gray house, with Mrs. Robb's pale, worried face at the window. Someone has said that anniversaries are days to make other people happy, but sometimes when they come, they seem to be full of shadows, and the power of giving joy to others, that inalienable right which ought to lighten the saddest heart, the most indifferent symphony, sometimes even this seems to be withdrawn. So poor old Mary Ann Robb sat at her window on the afternoon before Thanksgiving and felt herself poor and sorrowful indeed. Across the frozen road she looked eastward over a great stretch of cold meadow land, brown and windswept and crossed by icy ditches. It seemed to her as if before this, and all the troubles that she had known and carried, there had always been some hope to hold, as if she had never looked poverty full in the face and seen its cold, pitiless look before. She looked anxiously down the road with a horrible shrinking and dread at the thought of being asked, out of pity, to join in some Thanksgiving feast, but there was nobody coming with gifts in hand. Once she had been full of love for such days, whether at home or abroad, but something chilled her very heart now. Her nearest neighbor had been foremost of those who wished her to go to the town farm, and he had said more than once that it was the only sensible thing. But John Mander was waiting impatiently to get her tiny farm into his own hands. He had advanced some money upon it in her extremity, and pretended that there was still a debt after he cleared her wood lot to pay himself back. He would plow over the graves in the field corner and fell the great elms, and waited now like a spider for his poor prey. He often reproached her for being too generous to worthless people in the past, and coming to be a charge to others now. Oh, if she had only die in her own house and not suffer the pain of homelessness and dependence. It was just at sunset, and as she looked out hopelessly across the gray fields, there was a sudden gleam of light far away on the low hills beyond. The clouds opened in the west and let the sun shine through. One lovely gleam shot swift as an arrow and brightened a far cold hillside where it fell, and at the same moment a sudden gleam of hope brightened the winter landscape of her heart. There was Johnny Harris, said Mary Ann Robb softly. He was a soldier's son, left an orphan and distressed. Old John Mander scolded, but I couldn't see the poor boy in want. I kept him that year after he got hurt, spite o' what anyone said, and he helped me what little he could. He said I was the only mother he'd ever had. I'm going out west, Mother Rob, says he. I shan't come back till I get rich. And then he looked at me and laughed, so boyish and pleasant. He wasn't one that liked to write. I don't think he was doing very well when I heard. It's most 4 years ago now. I always thought if he got sick or anything, I should have a good home for him to come to. There's poor Ezra Blake, the deaf one, too. He won't have any place to welcome him. The light faded out of doors, and again Mrs. Roberts' troubles stood before her. Yet it was not so dark as it had been in her sad heart. She still sat by the window, hoping now, in spite of herself, instead of fearing, and a curious feeling of nearness and expectancy made her feel not so much light-hearted as light-headed. I feel just as if something was going to happen, she said. Poor Johnny Harris, perhaps he's thinking of me if he's alive. It was dark now out of doors, and there were tiny clicks against the window. It was beginning to snow, and the great elms creaked in the rising wind overhead. A dead limb on one of the old trees had fallen that autumn, and poor firewood as it was Mrs. Rob's own, and she had burnt it most thankfully. There was only a small armful left, but at least she could have the luxury of her fire. She had a feeling that it was her last night at home, and with strange recklessness, she began to fill the stove as she used to in better days. It'll get me good and warm, she said, still talking to herself as lonely people do, and I'll go to bed early. It's coming on to storm. The snow clicked faster and faster against the window, and she sat alone thinking in the dark. There's lots of folks I love, she said once. They'd be sorry I ain't got nobody to come, and no supper the night for Thanksgiving. I'm dreadful glad they don't know. And she drew a little nearer to the fire. She laid her head back drowsily in the old rocking chair. It seemed only a moment before there was a loud knocking, and somebody lifted the latch of the door. The fire shone bright through the front of the stove, and it made a little light in the room, but Mary Ann Robb waked up frightened and bewildered. "Who's there?" she called as she found her crutch and went to the door. She was only conscious of her one great fear. "They've come to take me to the poorhouse," she said, and burst into tears. There was a tall man, not John Mander, who seemed to fill the narrow doorway. "Come, let me in," he said gaily. "It's a cold night. You didn't expect me, did you, Mother Robb?" "Dear me, what is it?" she faltered, stepping back as he came in and dropping her crutch. "Be I dreaming? I was a-dreaming about... Oh, there, what was I saying? 'Tain't true. No, I've made some kind of mistake." Yes, and this was the man who kept the poorhouse, and she would go without complaint. They might have given her notice, but she must not fret. "Sit down, sir," she said, turning toward him with touching patience. "You'll have to give me a little time. If I'd been notified, I wouldn't have kept you waiting a minute this stormy night." It was not the keeper of the poorhouse. The man by the door took one step forward and put his arm around her and kissed her. "What are you talking about?" said John Harris. "You ain't going to make me feel like a stranger. I've come all the way from Dakota to spend Thanksgiving. There's all sorts of things out here in the wagon and a man to help get 'em in. Why, don't cry so, Mother Robb. I thought you'd have a great laugh if I come in and surprised you. Don't you remember I always said I should come?" It was John Harris indeed. The poor soul could say nothing. She felt now as if her heart was going to break with joy. He left her in the rocking chair and came and went in his old boyish way, bringing in the store of gifts and provisions. It was better than any dream. He talked and laughed and went out to send away the man to bring a wagon full of wood from John Mander's, and came in himself laden with pieces of the nearest fence to keep the fire going in the meantime. They must cook the beefsteak for supper right away. They must find the pound of tea among the other bundles. They must get the good fire started in both the cold bedrooms. Why, Mother Robb didn't seem to be ready for company from out west. The great cheerful fellow hurried about the tiny house, and the little old woman limped after him, forgetting everything but hospitality. Had not she a house for John to come to? Were not her old chairs and tables in their places still? And he remembered everything, and kissed her as they stood before the fire, as if she were a girl. He'd found plenty of hard times, but luck had come at last, and this was the end of a great year. No, I couldn't seem to write letters, no use of complaining of the worst, and I wanted to tell you the best when I came, he told her while she cooked the supper. No, I wasn't going to write no foolish letters, John repeated. He was afraid he should cry himself when he had found out how bad things had been, and they sat down to supper together, just as they used to when he was a homeless orphan boy, whom nobody else wanted in winter weather while he was crippled and could not work. She could not be kinder now than she was then, but she looked so poor and old. He saw her taste her cup of tea and set it down again with a trembling hand and look at him. No, I wanted to come myself, he blustered, wiping his eyes and trying to laugh. And you're going to have everything you need to make you comfortable long as you live, Mother Rob. She looked at him again and nodded, but she did not even try to speak. There was a good hot supper ready, and a happy guest had come. It was the night before Thanksgiving. Isn't that sweet?
That's very sweet.
I thought that was a good little short story to end things off with.
Yeah.
And that'll do it for another episode of A Little Off the Top with your hosts,
Hannah
and Noah. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed it, rate it 5 stars, share it with your friends, and share the holiday cheer with folks. And if they didn't like it, what do they do, Hannah?
Just ignore it.
That's right. There's a million other podcasts out there. Just go listen to one of those, please.
Yep.
But share it with your friends, too. Maybe they'll like it. But anyway, that'll do it for another episode of A Little Off the Top. Thank you so much for listening. Bye-bye.
Bye.